if you've ever asked yourself, how did they take this picture? Or how do I compose my pictures like this? While scrolling Pinterest, or you just randomly stumbled upon a photographer's page. This video is for you because I'll be showing you how elite photographers compose their images and how you can compose your images like that too. So let's just jump right into the video. So the first picture we'll be looking at is a picture shot by Corrado Dalco. Right off the bat, what you can notice is there's a lot going on in this picture. But one thing that makes the subject of this picture, which is the man walking down the street, is a composition technique called a frame in frame. And now what this means is that you can see the red wall behind him. It naturally frames him. And one thing you should know about composition, or good composition, is that it is rarely a mistake. Good compositions are intentional decisions made by photographers. So the person, the Corrado that shot this picture, he intentionally lets the subject walk into that place and shot the picture there. So I mean, you can get good composition once in a while, but when you have a consistent flow or a consistent streak of taking good composition, is because you know what you're doing. Let's look at the second picture. When you look at this picture, there are a lot of things going on. There are a lot of shapes, squares, but one thing you'll notice first is the foreground. The photographer intentionally let the foreground be out of focus, and that adds a layer of depth to the picture. And the subject in the middle is, I think there's nothing wrong if there was no foreground in this picture, there's nothing wrong with it, but just including that foreground just gives it another layer, because your eyes move from the foreground then to the subject, and your eyes is not distracted with foreground because it's out of focus. It's telling you that this is part of the image, but this is not where I want it to look at. So go to the subject, and your eyes focuses on the subject. Then you can look through the background. So adding a foreground and you can use anything to add a foreground, but I believe it should be a contextual stuff. Like, don't just add something randomly. Add something that adds to the story. Because now we can say that someone is sitting in front of the subject. So I think in this case, adding a leaf, because that's a part of the foreground, adding a leaf or something random would just be out of place. So adding a foreground, but make it contextual. Like, let it tie the story together. And I think that is a really interesting composition technique. So let's move to the next picture. So this third picture is pretty simple, and the use of color contrast is what is at play here, because you can see the background is blue, and I don't know what color is it. Is this gold or is this brown or golden brown? I don't know what color it is, but there's a contrast. The blue background and the golden or brown jacket. You can easily tell what the subject is. There's no distraction because of the contrast. So adding a contrast or making the subject having a different color compared to the background is another simple technique you can employ in your pictures. So maybe you can use red or green or something that just differentiate the background from the subject. Moving on to the next picture, another frame in frame example, and there are two. The interesting thing about this particular picture is that there are two composition techniques happening here, because now there's a foreground, and the same foreground acts as a frame in frame, because the subject which is in focus is at the back, and this car is a van and a model standing in front of it frames the subject, which is a frame in frame, still is a foreground because it's still out of focus. So you can mix two or more composition techniques to tie your pictures together. And when you look at all these pictures that we've seen so far, you can see that they are intentional. They are not some random mistakes that happen. It's something that is planned. So these are the things that elevate the nature of a picture. These are the things that makes a picture have more life, that makes a picture blow your mind when you look at them, because this is pleasing to look at. And it tells a story also that, yes, I want you to look at the background. I want you to look at the subject behind, because That's the essence of a composition. It arranges a picture, it places a hierarchy, it allows you to identify. A good composition allows you to identify what is the subject here, or who is the subject here, and what are the supporting cast. That is basically the job of a good composition. Let's move to the next picture. Now, focus. There are two ways to use focus, and let's go to the first one. This first one, you can see the subject is standing and is in focus, and the rest are blurred out, like they're moving. And this shows two things. It shows that the subject is standing still, but everything else is in motion. And this allows you to point out who the subject, like, well, when you look at this picture, immediately you know the subject is the one in focus, and everything else is a supporting cast. Now, this one, the whole picture is in blur. Even the subject is blur. You can use it as a storytelling tool to tell the viewers that this picture shows our subjects in motion. Because naturally, when we see something moving, we don't see it in blur. We don't see that blur, because our eyes, I don't think our eyes can see that blur. But by using this composition technique, we've shown that our subject is in motion. This picture is not still. Naturally, when you take pictures, we like to take sharp focus, like everything is, there should be no blur at all. But like I said, composition, a good composition is about the intentionality. It's about making informed decisions, because now the subject is in motion, the subject is blurry, the background is blurry, and it shows that, okay, yes, something is moving, the subject is moving here. And I think that's something really cool. And now let's check another picture. Now, this picture, the composition technique here is depth, because the background is super blurry. We don't really know what is going on behind. But right off the bat, when you look at this picture, you can easily focus on the subject, which is standing right in front of us. We can't see. I think there's a car behind there, there's buildings, but we can't really see them. And that tells us those things are less important. Depth of field is another composition technique that you can include in your toolkit. Now let's breeze through this picture taken by Matthew Reynard. Like I said, this is my favorite composition technique, frame in frame. This arc on the building frames the subject, and you can also see these two men behind. It also frames them. It just makes this picture look more dynamic, just adds more depth, and it happens naturally. That is it. It's just because this is something on the road, this is something you see on the road, and I just think that's a really cool picture. And now look at this one again, color contrast. The background, I think this is a bus, is red, and the subject is wearing a green dress. Immediately she stands out from the background because these colors contrast each other. They easily stand out. So color contrast again is another interesting way to make your picture stand out. So experiment with different colors. Just use a color wheel. Go on Google and search color wheel and look at colors that are on the opposite sides of the color wheel, and they will be, I think they call them complementary colors. So just experiment with different colors, and you see that your pictures will elevate the look of your images. Now let's look at this picture. You can see that this picture is shot, I think, during sunset. The composition technique used there is what they call balance. From the right side, you can see this guy jumping up, and to the left side, the other guy running out of the frame. These two elements balance out this picture. I won't alter the image because I don't have I didn't have permission from the photographer. So if you remove the subject, or should I say the guy jumping on the right side of this picture will lack balance, because that place will just be an empty space. For a lot of people, it won't be bad. It's not as if it's the biggest crime on earth, but because of intentionality and skills, these are the skills elite photographers implement in making their pictures look jaw-dropping. So now let's look at this picture again, a frame in frame. This truck frames the model. I just love this. I don't love this composition technique, frame in frame, and it happens naturally. When you look at all these pictures, the recurring theme is that they look like they happened randomly, but they are not. They happened because someone saw the vision and aligned them. Some of this breakdown was able to help you analyze and see new ways to compose your images, and from frame in frame, color combination, or color contrast. These are things that when you look at and break them down and implement them, it will elevate the look of your pictures. And I linked up a video here on composition, the first video I did on composition, so check that video out. And if you love more videos like this, or you want to see more of them in the future, just leave it comments, just drop a comment, and I'll see you in the next video.